Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My dear brothers and sisters, we live in a time where the heart is often heavy with stress, with worry, with pain. Yet our Creator Allah has given us simple keys to unlock peace. Today, I want to share with you 5 things that will bring peace to your heart, inshallah. My dear brothers and sisters, when we talk about peace in the heart, we must understand that real, lasting peace cannot be bought, it cannot be taken from a shop, and it cannot be found in the temporary pleasures of this world. It is a gift from Allah, the one who created the heart in the first place. How can the heart ever find peace if it is disconnected from the one who fashioned it? Just like a mobile phone will not function properly if it is not connected to its charger, your heart will not function with serenity if it is disconnected from its creator. The Quran tells us very clearly, indeed, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. Surah Ar-Rad 13:28. This is not a poetic line or an optional suggestion. It is the divine formula for tranquility. If Allah Himself is telling you the secret, then you can be sure it will never fail. We live in a time where many people chase peace through things that were never designed to give it. Some run after wealth thinking the more money they have, the calmer they will feel. Others seek it in entertainment, distractions, or even harmful substances. And while these might numb the pain temporarily, they never remove it. As soon as the distraction is gone, the emptiness returns, sometimes stronger than before. But the one who remembers Allah sincerely and consistently will discover a peace that doesn't vanish when the noise fades. It stays because it is anchored in something eternal. The remembrance of Allah, Dhikr, is not limited to saying Subhanallah or Alhamdulillah on our tongues, though these are powerful and beloved words. It is also about keeping Allah present in your thoughts, in your decisions, in the way you react to life. It is about being conscious of Him in the good times and the bad. When you are happy, you thank Him. When you are in difficulty, you turn to Him. The more you remember Allah, the more your heart will be trained to see Him in everything around you, and this awareness itself becomes a shield against anxiety. Imagine walking through life knowing that every event is part of Allah's perfect plan, that nothing escapes His knowledge, nothing happens without His wisdom. Wouldn't that bring a deep calm to your heart? Some people misunderstand remembrance. They think it means locking yourself away from the world, repeating certain words mechanically. But true remembrance is alive, it is active, and it connects your heart to the Lord of the worlds in every moment. You can be driving and remembering Allah. You can be cooking and remembering Allah. You can be in a meeting and in your heart still remembering Allah. This constant awareness keeps your soul clean, your perspective balanced, and your heart soft. Why does the remembrance of Allah bring peace? Because it reminds you that you are not alone. Every burden you carry, He knows. Every tear you shed in secret, He sees. Every injustice you experience, He is aware of, and His justice is perfect. This means you do not have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, because you have entrusted your affairs to the one who controls the heavens and the earth. And the more you place your trust in Him, the lighter your heart becomes. Look at the example of the Prophet Muhammad did. He faced difficulties that would have crushed others: mockery, exile, loss of loved ones, betrayal by those close to him, even attempts on his life. Yet, he had a peace in his heart that never left him, because his connection to Allah was unshakable. When the pressure of life grew intense, he would say to Bilal, "O Bilal, give us comfort through the prayer." For him, the prayer was not a burden. It was the place where the heart breathed. If our Salah felt like that to us, our lives would be different. But that only happens when you approach with sincerity, with longing to connect, not just to fulfill an obligation. Sometimes we confuse the absence of problems with peace, but you can have a life full of challenges and still have a peaceful heart if your heart is connected to Allah. Likewise, you can have a life that seems perfect from the outside, with comfort and luxury, yet inside you feel restless and unsatisfied. True peace is not the absence of trials. It is the presence of Allah in your heart during those trials. One of the most powerful ways to connect to Allah is to spend time with His words, the Quran. The Quran is not just a book of rules. It is the direct communication from your Creator to you. When you read it, you are reading the speech of Allah, the one who knows you better than you know yourself. Each verse you ponder becomes a drop of calmness in the ocean of your heart. Some verses remind you of His mercy, others of His power, others of His promise to those who remain patient. When you immerse yourself in these reminders, your faith grows and your worries shrink in comparison to His greatness. But this connection doesn't happen automatically. It requires intention, consistency, and sincerity. You have to prioritize time for Allah in your day, not just fit Him into the leftover moments. Just like you make time for food because your body needs it, make time for remembrance because your heart needs it. Start your morning with Alhamdulillah, asking Allah to guide your day. When something good happens, say MashaAllah and thank Him. When something hurts you, say Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un, reminding yourself that everything belongs to Him and will return to Him. These small acts, when done consistently, create a constant spiritual heartbeat that keeps you alive inside. Sometimes, connecting to Allah also means disconnecting from things that pull you away from Him. If your heart is constantly fed with negativity, gossip, endless entertainment, and unhealthy comparisons on social media, it becomes clouded and restless. You cannot fill a cup with clean water if it is already full of dirt. Purifying the heart means making room for Allah's remembrance by removing what distracts and harms it. It is not about abandoning the world, but about using it in a way that brings you closer to Him rather than further away. There will be moments in life when you feel broken, when you are overwhelmed by grief, when nothing in this world seems to make sense. In those moments, remember that the heart's natural place of rest is with Allah. Speak to Him. Pour out everything, endure the things you can't tell anyone else, the fears you can't put into words. The beauty of speaking to Allah is that you never have to explain yourself fully because He already knows. And every time you cry before Him, your tears are not wasted. They are collected, seen, and valued by the most merciful. The peace you get from remembering Allah is not just for you. It overflows into how you treat others. When you are at peace inside, you become more patient, more forgiving, more generous. You stop reacting harshly to every annoyance because your heart is anchored. Even when people wrong you, you respond with dignity because you know that Allah is watching and that your reward is with Him. This is why the remembrance of Allah is not just an individual act. It is the foundation of a peaceful society. A community filled with hearts that remember Allah is a community filled with mercy, justice, and compassion. You might be wondering, how do I start? Start small. Pick a few phrases of Dhikr and say them throughout your day. Reflect on their meanings. Read a few verses of Quran daily and try to understand them. Set aside a few minutes each morning or night to sit quietly and just remember Allah, thanking Him for His blessings and asking Him for His help. Over time, these moments will grow and your connection will deepen. You will begin to notice a change, a calmness in situations where you once felt panic, a patience where you once felt irritation, a hope where you once felt despair. The truth is, everyone is searching for peace. Some look for it in wealth, some in relationships, some in achievements. But Allah has already told us exactly where to find it in His remembrance. Everything else is temporary, but the peace from being connected to Him is eternal. And once your heart tastes it, you will never want to live without it again. Trust Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the heaviest burdens a human can carry is the weight of grudges, resentment, and unforgiveness. It is like walking through life with a sack of stones on your back, adding another stone each time someone wrongs you, each time someone says something hurtful, each time a relationship breaks. Keep walking, but with every step you feel heavier, slower, more exhausted. Eventually you wonder why you feel so drained. Joy slowly seems so far away. It is because your heart is overburdened with things that Allah never intended you to hold onto forever. Forgiveness is the act of putting that sack down, not because the stones were never heavy, not because the wrong was acceptable, but because you value your peace more than you value holding onto pain. Many of us think forgive means pretending nothing happened, or letting someone off the hook entirely, or even reconciling with someone who continues to harm us. But that is not the true essence of forgiveness. True forgiveness is first and foremost an act of the heart. It is saying to yourself, I release this pain into the hands of Allah. I will not let it poison me any longer. Trust that Allah's justice is perfect and that I do not need to be the one to balance the scales. You can forgive someone and still protect yourself from further harm. You can forgive without excusing wrong. But when you refuse to forgive, you chain your heart to the very thing that hurt you. Prophet Muhammad, letter FDFA, is our greatest example of forgiveness. He forgave those who harmed him personally, those who insulted him, those who fought against him, even those who tried to take his life. In one of the most touching moments of his life, when he entered Mecca as a conqueror after years of persecution, he had the power to punish those who had driven him out, killed his companions and mocked his message. Yet he stood before them and said, "Go, for you are free." This was not weakness, it was the strength of a heart that refused to be enslaved by hatred. And that, my brothers and sisters, the kind of strength we need to cultivate if we want peace. Holding on to grudges feels natural in the moment because anger gives us a sense of control. We think that if we stay angry, protecting ourselves from being hurt again. But in reality, anger is like a fire. It might burn others, but it burns us first, consumes our thoughts. It darkens our mood. It even affects our health. How many sleepless nights have we spent replaying a conversation, thinking of what we should have said? How much energy have we wasted imagining revenge or wishing ill upon someone? Allah, all of that energy could have been used to build something beautiful in our lives, to connect with Allah, to help others to grow. Instead, it gets swallowed by a cycle that only brings more pain. The Quran encourages us again and again to let go. Allah tells repayment of a bad action is one equivalent to it, but if someone pardons and puts things right, his reward is with Allah. Surah Ash-Shura 42:40. Notice here, Allah acknowledges that it is your right to respond equally. But He tells you that if you go beyond justice and choose mercy, you are not losing, are getting a reward directly from Him. And what is a reward from Allah worth? More than anything this world can offer. The peace that enters your heart when you let go for His sake is something no material being can match. Letting go does not happen overnight. Sometimes the wound is fresh, and every attempt to forgive feels like reopening it. Forgiveness is a process. You may have to remind yourself daily, I am not doing this for them, doing this for Allah and for my own heart. And even if the feelings of hurt resurface, do not see it as failure, see it as another chance to practice the art of releasing. The more you practice, the lighter you will feel. Forgiveness is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. There is also an important truth we often overlook. We ourselves are in need of forgiveness every day. We wrong others, sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly. We hurt feelings, promises, we make mistakes. And every time we stand before Allah in prayer, we ask Him, but forgive us, Allah. How can we expect His forgiveness if we are unwilling to extend it to others? The Prophet FDF taught us that Allah will not show mercy to those who do not show mercy to others. When you forgive, you open the door for Allah's mercy to flow into your own life. Some people say, but what they did to me is unforgivable. And it is true, some wrongs are severe, some betrayals cut deeply, some pain feels beyond repair. In those cases, forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean allowing that person back into a position where they can harm you again. Trust Allah. It means you hand over the matter to Allah's perfect justice. You stop carrying the anger in your heart. Stop. You're letting it define you. You're yourself to heal without waiting for them to apologize or change. That way, you reclaim control over your own peace. Sometimes we also need to forgive ourselves. We hold on to guilt from our past, mistakes we made years ago, sins we have repented from but still carry us if Allah's mercy is too small to cover them. This self-imprisonment keeps us from moving forward. But Allah says, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins. Surah Az-Zumar 39:50. If the one who knows every detail of your life has forgiven you, who are you keep punishing yourself? Self-forgiveness is not about ignoring your mistakes. It is about learning from them, repenting sincerely, and then allowing your heart to rest in the hope of Allah's mercy. When you let go, whether of someone else's wrong or your own guilt, you make space for better things to enter. You make space for joy, for gratitude, for love, for worship without distraction. You begin to notice the blessings that were hidden by the shadow of resentment. Life feels lighter. Your dua becomes more sincere because your heart is no longer cluttered with bitterness. You smile more easily, sleep more peacefully. And remember, forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of inner strength. Anyone can hold a grudge. It takes courage and faith to release it. When you forgive, you're not saying, what you did was okay. You are saying, but I refuse to let your actions control my heart. I refuse to give you the power to disturb my peace. You are also saying, but I trust Allah to handle this matter better than I ever could. Imagine if you left this world tonight with unresolved anger in your heart. Imagine standing before Allah carrying not just your own deeds, but also the burden of grudges that prevented you experiencing peace. Now imagine the opposite. Standing before Him with a heart that is light, clean, free from bitterness. Which would you rather present to your Lord? Every act of forgiveness in this life is like polishing your heart so that when you meet him it shines. My brothers and sisters, peace of the heart is too precious to be sacrificed for the sake of holding onto hurt. Life is short. People will wrong you, intentionally or unintentionally. You cannot control their actions, but you control your response. Choose the response that lifts you closer to Allah, not the one that drags you further into anger. When you choose forgiveness, choose freedom. And when you choose freedom, you choose peace. The human heart has a strange habit. It often looks the past, the blessing it already holds, and fixes its eyes on what lies in the hands of others. This is why many people spend their whole lives chasing something they believe will finally make them happier. Home, a newer car, a job, a certain lifestyle. And yet when they finally get it, the joy fades and the heart begins searching again. It's like drinking seawater to quench your thirst. It only leaves you thirstier. But there is a secret taught to us by our beloved Prophet Muhammad FDFA that can free us from this endless cycle. He told us that wealth is not measured by how much you have, but by the contentment of the soul. Real richness is not in your bank account, it is in your heart. When a person learns to be content, they are no longer slaves to comparison. They do not measure their value by what others own or what society tells them they should. Instead, they live with a quiet joy, appreciating the blessings that surround them, everyday blessings so many others dream of. There are people right now praying for the things we take for granted. The roof over our head, the clean water in our glass, food in our kitchen, the ability to walk, see, and breathe without difficulty. Allah. But our hearts sometimes grow blind to these blessings because they are familiar. We start believing happiness lies somewhere else, something new. Contentment opens our eyes again. It makes us realize that we already have is more than enough. The Quran reminds us, if you are grateful, I will surely increase you, as Surah Ibrahim 14:7. And gratitude and contentment are deeply connected. When you say Alhamdulillah sincerely, you are not just uttering a phrase, you are training your soul to focus on the good instead of being consumed by what is missing. And when Allah sees that you appreciate His gifts, He blesses you with even more, not just more in quantity, but more in quality, more in the feeling of barakah, that divine blessing that makes even a little feel abundant. Contentment also shields the heart from jealousy. Jealousy is like a slow poison. It eats away at your happiness and replaces it with resentment toward the blessings of others. When you are content, you can see someone else succeed and genuinely feel for happy because you know that Allah's plan is perfect and your provision is already. You don't see life as a competition for limited resources. See as a journey in which each person is given exactly what they need, exactly when they need it. And if something is not in your hands right now, it is either not meant for you or not good for you at this time. The Prophet FDFA gave us practical way to nurture contentment. He said, but look at those below you, not those above you. Allah, for this is more likely to be from belittling the blessings of Allah upon you. This advice is simple but transformative. If you constantly compare yourself to those who have more, you will always feel lacking. But if you look to those who have less, you will realize how much you already have to be thankful for. Is a shift in perspective that costs nothing but can change everything. Contentment does not mean we stop striving to improve our lives. Islam encourages hard work, ambition, and seeking lawful provision. But there is a difference between healthy ambition and greed. Ambition says, I will work hard, but I will be grateful for whatever Allah gives me. Greed says, I will only be happy when I get more than I have now. The first path leads to peace, the second leads to endless dissatisfaction. The Prophet FDFA taught us to live in this balance, to strive with effort but rest with trust in Allah's decree. Sometimes people think contentment is passive, like giving up on dreams or refusing to work for a better future. But true contentment is a conscious choice your happiness in the hands of Allah instead of in the shifting sands of worldly gain. His ability to say, if Allah gives me more, I will thank Him. If He gives me less, I will still thank Him. This is the state of the believer, whose heart remains steady whether they are in abundance or in hardship. There is also a deep freedom in contentment. When you are not constantly chasing after more, you are free to focus on what truly matters: your worship, your relationships, your character, your service to others. You stop living in a state of "I will be happy when," and start living in a state of "I am happy now." Pas Allah, because Allah has already given me so much. This freedom is something no amount of money can buy, because it is rooted in the soul. Think of the people who have the least yet smile the most. Perhaps you have seen them, children playing in dusty streets with nothing but a worn ball, yet their laughter is pure and unrestrained. Families eating simple meals together, yet their hearts are rich with love. These people are living proof that peace and joy do not come from possessions, but from the way we see and appreciate what we have. On the other hand, people who seem to have everything: luxury, comfort, fame, yet they live with anxiety, restlessness, emptiness, without contentment, and even the most beautiful palace feels like a prison. One of the reasons contentment is so powerful is because it turns every situation into an opportunity for reward. If you have plenty, you are grateful and Allah increases you. If you have little, you are patient and Allah rewards you. Either way, you win. This is why the Prophet FDFA said, "For the matter of the believer is amazing. Everything that happens to him is good. State of heart makes you unshakable, because your peace is not to circumstances, is tied to your trust in Allah." Contentment also nurtures generosity. When you believe that Allah will provide for you, you are not afraid to give to others. You do not cling your wealth or possessions out of fear of losing them. You share freely, knowing the giver of all things is watching over you. And when you give with this mindset, Allah replaces it with something better sometime in this world, sometimes in ways only felt in the heart. You want to cultivate contentment. Begin with daily gratitude. Make it a habit to list at least blessings each day, no matter how small. Thank Allah for them specifically. Reflect on people who wish for what you already have. Limit the time you spend comparing yourself to others, especially through social media, which often shows only the highlights of life while hiding the struggles. Remember that what you see is never the full picture. Another way to contentment is to focus on serving others. Trust Allah. When you see the struggles people face and you help ease their burdens, your own complaints begin to shrink. Serving others shifts your attention from what you lack to what you can give. And in that giving, you realize just how blessed you are. Ultimately, contentment is a choice we make every day. We can choose to dwell on what is missing or to cherish what is present. We can choose to measure our lives by temporary standards or by eternal ones. We can choose to live in a constant state of wanting or in a constant state of alhamdulillah. And the more we choose gratitude, the more peace we will feel. Because true wealth, the kind can never be stolen or lost. The wealth of a heart that is satisfied with what Allah has written. One of the most beautiful truths in life is that when you help others, you are in fact helping yourself. It may seem like an act of giving, but it is also an act of receiving peace, joy, blessings, and the contentment that comes from knowing you have been a means of good in someone's life. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, has made kindness and service not just a duty, but a source of inner healing. When you extend your hand to lift someone else, find your own heart rising as well. This is why the Prophet Muhammad FDFA told us, the most beloved people to Allah are those who are most beneficial to others. The path to earning Allah's love is not through selfishness or isolation, but through being a source of benefit, mercy, support for His creation. Helping others can take many forms. It is not limited to giving money or material aid. All of those are noble acts. Sometimes the greatest help you can give is your time, your attention, your sincere advice, even a warm smile. The Prophet FDFA said, "Your smile for your brother is charity." This means that even the smallest gesture, done with sincerity, can carry immense weight in the sight of Allah. We often underestimate the impacts of simple acts: holding the door open for someone carrying a heavy bag, visiting them when they are sick, listening when they are troubled. These things may seem small to us, but they can be huge to the person receiving them. There is something remarkable about how Allah has designed this world. When you focus only on yourself and worries of your own problems seem bigger, they consume your thoughts and weigh down your heart. But the moment you shift toward helping someone else, something changes inside you. Your problems may still exist, but they feel lighter, less overwhelming. It is as if Allah has placed a secret in service to others, a way to heal your own heart by bringing relief to another's. This is why so many people find deep fulfillment in volunteering, charity work, or simply being there for those in need. Helping others also purifies the heart. When you give from what you have, whether it's wealth, time, or skill, you are actually breaking the hold of selfishness and greed. Allah tells us in the Quran that charity purifies wealth, it also purifies the soul. It reminds you that everything you have is a trust from Allah, not something you own absolutely. Allah are simply the caretaker of these blessings. And one of the reasons Allah has given them to you is so you can share them. And the more you give, the more you realize that your provision does not decrease. In fact, it often increases, because Allah promises that He will replace what you give for His sake with something better. There is also a special kind of dua that comes from the heart of someone you have helped. It might be whispered on, "May Allah bless you," from someone you barely know, Allah, or a tear from Sulpran Yum, someone lifted in their darkest hour. These duas are powerful. Trust Allah, and sometimes they reach you at time you are in need help yourself. The Prophet letter FDFA told us that Allah is in the aid of His servant as long as the servant is in the aid of his brother. Imagine living your life in such a way that Allah's help is constantly with, because you are constantly helping others. Sometimes people think, "I have nothing to give. I'm not wealthy, I'm not influential, I can't make a big difference." But this is not true. Everyone has something to offer. You might have knowledge that could guide someone, skills that could ease their burden, words that could lift their spirit, or even just the ability to make them feel seen and valued. Helping others is not measured by size, it is measured by sincerity. The Prophet letter FDFA told us about a man who earned Allah's forgiveness simply for giving water to a thirsty dog. Showing kindness to an animal can bring such mercy from Allah. Imagine the reward of helping another human being in need. Helping others also builds stronger bonds in our communities. When people look out for each other, trust grows, love spreads, unity becomes stronger. A community where everyone is concerned only for themselves becomes cold and divided. But community where people are quick to help, quick to check on each other, quick to share in both joys and sorrows, that is a community filled with warmth and peace. And that peace begins in the hearts of those who give. There will be times when helping others is not convenient. It might require sacrificing your comfort, your time, or your resources. But it is in those moments that the reward is greatest. Anyone can give when it is easy, but giving when it requires effort shows sincerity and dedication. The companion of the Prophet let FDFA were known for this quality. They would put others before themselves, even when they were in need. Allah praises them in the Quran, saying they give to others preference over themselves. And on privation, Surah Al-Ashr 59:9. This level of generosity comes from a heart that trusts Allah completely and knows that no one ever loses by giving for His sake. There is another beautiful truth about helping others. It can transform your own faith. Sometimes when we are feeling spiritually low or disconnected from Allah, acts of service can rekindle that connection. Serving is creation. We are serving Him because every act done sincerely for His sake is an act of worship. Helping others remind us of our purpose, pulls us out of our self-centered thoughts, and fills our days with meaning. It makes us more grateful for our own blessings and more aware of the struggles others face. And it is important to remember that helping others is not only about big, visible acts. Sometimes the most impactful help is done quietly, without anyone knowing. The Prophet let FDFA encourage giving in secret because it protects the sincerity of our intentions and preserves the dignity of the person receiving the help. In a world where so many seek recognition for their good deeds, the hidden acts done purely for Allah's pleasure carry a special beauty. They are like seeds planted in secret that blossom and reward the day of judgment. Even a kind word can be a form of help. Sometimes people are going through battles we cannot see, and a gentle, uplifting word can be enough to give them hope. You might forget the words you spoke, but they may carry them for years as a reminder that someone cared. This is why the Prophet letter FDFA said, but do not belittle any good deed, even meeting your brother with a cheerful face. To you it may seem small, but to them it could mean everything. Helping others also has a way of returning to you in unexpected ways. There may come a day when you are the one in need, and Allah will send someone to help you in a way you could never have planned. Sometimes that help comes directly from those you once helped, but often it comes from places you never imagined. This is the promise of Allah that when you're back, He will give you in ways beyond your understanding. The world is filled with people carrying heavy burdens. Some are struggling financially, others emotionally, others spiritually. You may not be able to solve all their problems, but you can lighten the load, even if only for a moment. And that moment may be enough to give them strength to keep going. It may be enough to remind them that Allah still sends His mercy through the hearts of people. And perhaps in helping them, you will feel your own burdens lighten, your own heart soften, and your own connection to Allah grow stronger. Because helping others is not just about changing their life, it's about changing yours too.